Egyptian King Farouk in 1936. But the clamor for total independence would continue. Palestine was an even more difficult problem. It was the traditional Jewish homeland, but over the centuries the Arabs had taken over. By 1900, a Zionist movement, bent on reclaiming Israel, had been formed in Europe. Then, in 1917, the British issued the so-called Balfour Declaration, which indicated support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. After the Great War, there was a large influx of Jews to Palestine, but while they were bent on taking over the country, the British expected them to coexist in peace with the Arab population. The Arabs, though, increasingly resented the Jewish presence, especially since they purchased more and more land. When Hitler came to power in Germany in 1933 and began to persecute the Jews there, immigration to Palestine rose sharply. Arab anger boiled over into a full-scale revolt in 1936. Large British forces had to be sent to the country, and it took them 3 years to restore peace. By now, the Second World War had broken out, and the Middle East became of vital strategic importance. A number of campaigns were fought, including the long tussle in the Egyptian and Libyan desert between the British and the Axis forces. Palestinians fought on the British side, and some, like these men landing in France in early 1940, were in mixed Arab-Jewish units. Egypt, although the main British base, did not participate in the fighting. But Jewish hardliners in Palestine were still bent on creating an all-Jewish state and formed two terrorist groups. The Stern Gang, named after its leader, Avraham Stern, committed a number of atrocities, including the 1944 assassination of Lord Moyne, the British minister resident in Cairo. The other was Irgun, led by future Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin. This was less extreme and contented itself with attacks on symbols of British rule, such as police stations. At the end of the war in 1945, Lebanon and Syria were finally given their independence by France. Transjordan gained hers, with Mesopotamia having done so as Iraq in 1922, although British forces did not leave here until 1945. But large British garrisons remained in Palestine and Egypt, as well as other forces in Cyprus, Sudan, and Aden. The Palestine problem was to prove intractable. The Jewish Stern Gang and Irgun groupings were now joined by the moderate Haganah, formed pre-war to protect settlements from Arab attack. In October 1945, they launched attacks against police and communications, and the British Army had to be called in to control the situation. Zionist anger was further inflamed when the British announced that they were rescinding a pre-war proposal to create Jewish and Arab states out of Palestine and restricted Jewish immigration to 1,500 people per month. Many of the survivors of Hitler's Holocaust against the Jews had set their hearts on starting a new life in Palestine.